Hello, everybody. So, before I start the song, I wanted to introduce it by saying that this is a hymn we used to sing at Eastside Evangelical Fellowship almost 20 years ago now. The church no longer exists by that name, so I think I'm allowed to say that. They were an interesting church. We had stained glass windows, a balcony with like pews and like all that. They had kind of a liturgical streak. We had the doxology every week at the end of service and like call and responses where the pastor would read out verses and the church would call it back. And we had the formal blessing. It was one of the most formal churches I've ever been to. And we also had, obviously, we had traditional hymns. And this was before I had even heard of modern worship music. So the only accompaniment at EF was a piano. We didn't have drums. We had a congregation of about 300 people, and sometimes we had a choir. So we could still make, noise. We could make a decent amount of noise. And I really honestly kind of prefer that worship style sometimes. And I think that's what this song lends itself to. I had last heard this song played in probably 2002. So I was about 7 years old, which kind of makes it surprising that I'm able to remember it well enough to play it on the piano. But I did make a directed effort to remember it because it was one of my favorite hymns. But I had never again heard it after going to that church. And recently, when I bothered to Google it, I realized that it was that pretty much only the most wildly popular hymns survived the modern worship transition that occurred in about 2005, 2006, maybe a little earlier. But this song is called At the Name of Jesus, and it was written in 1870 by Caroline Maria Noel. And it saw over 100 years of consistent use. But a cursory Google and Spotify search reveals there's not a single quality recording of this hymn in its original tune anywhere on the internet. I did find an archive piano version that was just like one verse, so there was no words to it. I feel like that kind of preserves the melody in an academic sense, but it's not really what I'm looking for. It does make me sad to think that I may be one of the last people to ever hear this hymn in the way that it was written. I would like to do something about that today. With no further ado, At the Name of Jesus by Caroline Maria Noel.